attention. All right, so I shall call the first submission, which is Murray James. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Do we use these devices or it just happens? They're on already? Fantastic. Well, morena koutou. Murray James toku ingoa no Ototahi Richmond aho. Good morning everyone. Murray James is my name and I'm a resident of Richmond in Christchurch. Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. I really do appreciate the democratic opportunity that we have living in this environment. I made the submission as a private citizen, a ratepayer in Richmond, but I am also involved with local community activities as a board member at the Avebury House Community Trust. Now, I would like to begin by adding my personal support to the submission that was made by our board member Hayley Gabetta on Monday. It was a well-formed, superb submission and has my full support. Hopefully council will view that in a similar light. I've been a resident of Richmond for some time and I have a generational association with it across 4 generations with my great grandmother living in Chancellor Street. Myself, I live in Petrie. And for my submission, I'd like to focus on 3 main things. Firstly is the apparent lack of consideration to Richmond as a suburb and the consequent, what appears to me to be underinvestment in it. I'd like to draw attention to that. I'd like to also draw some attention to what I consider to be a disappointing focus on social housing in light of the current environment. And I would also like to then offer a bouquet to council around what appears to be continuing support of heritage retention, which I personally think is marvellous. So I will be brief, but I'll begin, and I'll start with Richmond. In my view, Richmond as a suburb has enormous potential, but I think it has received the rough end of the stick for some time. Its residents and the suburb itself were quite badly affected by the Canterbury earthquake sequence, not only in terms of damage to individual residents' homes, businesses and infrastructure, but also by central government's red zoning of large tracts of the suburb, which resulted in depopulation essentially. That's beginning to recover, but it certainly made life difficult for businesses in the location. On top of that, Richmond has endured quite significant interruption in terms of roading projects and in particular the Dudley Creek flood management program. It's introduced significant elements of traffic diversion. For example, if you take Slater Street, Chancellor, Petrie, Crystal, they've all been closed completely going south for almost 2 years. Now, that may not sound like much, but actually it means that you have to divert quite a long way and also bypass the business sector of Richmond. Now, it's already been stated, but I'll state again, the businesses sort of focused around the Stanmore Road, top North Avon Road end of Richmond have been severely affected by that. Traffic has been diverted away, takings are well down, some of them are struggling to the point where closure is almost imminent. That does not appear to have been considered. It may have been, but certainly it is something that I believe should be as a local resident of Richmond. Look, we have the roading is another thing, I'll come to that in a second, but despite that interruption, despite the challenges, Richmond is actually a very vibrant community, and what has arisen is a rather active network of community representatives who are doing really, really good work in the suburb. I think that's despite the circumstances, or perhaps because of them. I think engagement from council with those people, the community groups that are keen to be engaged with, keen to be heard, is something that would provide real benefit, real opportunities. So I hope that that's considered. In respect of roading, the North Avon Road works, the Dudley flood management works have caused an awful lot of interruption. Yeah, that's okay, it's expected, it's understood. the outcomes that they will achieve ultimately are very much required. But there are some things that perhaps could be considered by council. If you look at the area of Richmond from Shirley Road back to North Avon, that's where a lot of this work is going on. And it appears to me as a resident in those locations that the remedial work at conclusion of the works is essentially a patch-up job. The roading that's been reformed, in some cases without curb and channel, is quite poor in terms of condition, and that's relatively upsetting for the residents in that block. I think the least it deserves is a proper finished result once the work's concluded, and I hope that will be the outcome.
Thank you. Look, I'm just aware that we've come to the end of the 5 minutes. So
okay, I'll whip through the next bit. Social housing it's funded around rental income. It's something that I think personally Christchurch has had a proud history in that area, and it could do with some more consideration. Heritage, absolutely essential. Any private owner, and I guess you get lots of sort of feedback negative about private ownership, heritage building being funded by grants from council. Any private owner is only a temporary stakeholder in that building. The building transcends any temporary owner of it, and therefore it deserves consideration. And I'm pleased that council appears to be continuing to support that, so that has my vote.
Thank you. Look, thank you very much. And I should have said at the outset, you know, we have read every submission, and you know, we want you to come to the table to highlight the key points, which you actually have done. I don't know that questioning would have added anything anyway, but if people want to leave time for questions, then they're welcome to as well. It's a relatively short period of time, but thank you for exercising your democratic right and for making such a powerful contribution to our consideration. Thank you. Thank you very much. I know that there's a lot of Richmond residents in the house. I used to live in Draper Street, so there's some sympathy at this end of the table for the things that you're raising. So thank you in advance.